Views expressed on the following program are those of the host, guests, and callers. They do not reflect this channel or stream. Welcome to the show, everybody. Little switch things up here. The other guy didn't show up, so we have Adam joining us. Adam is a fellow paranormal investigator. So my question list here is going to be thrown to the side here. There it goes, right into the trash. So welcome to the show, Adam. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you very much. I appreciate it for inviting me.
Yep. Spare a moment here. The questions are normally the same, folks. That's kind of like what we do. We get the questions pretty much the same, anyways. So some things will be a little different. And if you're watching us on video, you can see that I had an accident with a razor blade, and my beard. Uh, Time for a
No.
change. So here we go. How and why did you get in this field, Adam?
Uh, well, I've been doing this for about 15 years now. Um, it started when I was a young kid. I had a bunch of experiences. My first house had poltergeist activity. And then from then on, it just grew to I had seen full-fledged apparitions, full body imaging. I would hear things, see things, and when I was old enough to go on investigations, I started going, and it just piqued my interest more because I'm a history buff, and history and the paranormal coincide with each other. Um, so then I joined a group called PLS, Paranormal Legends Society. I just recently left them, and now I'm doing a lot of work with Boston Paranormal investigators. But that's pretty much it.
And if I remember correctly, I believe you guys had another person that came on our show. You guys investigate a castle down there. Is that correct?
That's correct. We have done Smith's Castle. It's in
Mm-hmm.
North Cape, Rhode Island. It's Roger Williams' trading post, one of the original trading posts when Roger Williams first discovered the Rhode Island.
So, spare a moment here. So, hopefully, we can discuss this. Is there any reasons why you left the paranormal group? Because I see this a lot of times happening, even in my own area.
No,
Um,
they're a great group. Dennis, Trisha, Rick from PLS. They're an amazing group. The thing is, I travel, and I'm also one of those solo kind of guys. I like to be solo, and for when you're in a big group, say if there's like people in the group, can get misconstrued. You can't really hear that well because you got people talking in other rooms. So when you're like a solo act, you can just join up with other teams, like hitchhike with them, um, and basically have a better experience that way.
okay, and here's another one. The castles and stuff. I had an opportunity again here to investigate another castle. I don't know how we're going to plan that, but I really would like to do it. How is how is that different than the houses and the businesses, or is it just the same? Because a lot of stuff in my area, the castle, it's in my area. We can. It's state property. It's an asylum, or was an
Yeah.
asylum, an inebriate society asylum, uh, here located in Binghamton, New York. Uh, there's also we have a few other places in the area up in Portland. There's another type setting like that, and I believe there's one in Hancock and area, as well as um, the Oneana area has some historical buildings like that. Now they might not be castles, but they are
Yeah.
forts and historical castles, and I can't think of um, the other town the other one's in. But anyways, is that a difference between those and doing a regular residence or business?
Um, tech, Technically, no. The only difference I would say, so paranormal happens when paranormal happens. Uh, if you think about it, this Earth is crazy old. So at any given time in that history of the Earth, somebody was in certain locations. Only reason why historical places like Smith's Castle or like other its foundation's still there. So
Wow.
this house was built in the 1600s.
Hmm.
So that history is there. The energy is there in the foundation, in the wood, in the basin of this location. They have the oak trees in the bottom, and it's still there from the 1600s. You can feel them. They're there. So it holds a lot of energy, but not. It doesn't mean it's like it's better in one place or the other. It's just now you can physically see and touch history.
Now that other castle's in Walton, New York. If anybody really wants to go see it, a lot of these castles were something to do with the Civil War or really rich people. They're more of mansions than they are in castles here,
Yes.
and at
Yep.
least in my area. I mean, there are a few castles or forts or
Yep.
fortified complexes is more like it. Used for military when the Revolutionary War and the Civil War happened. But anyways, what field do you like the most about paranormal?
Um. Well, I am a firm believer in spirits, but I also like all of the unknown. So paranormal is basically above normal, um, and uh, aliens, UFOs. You have everything that's unknown. You have the pyramids. I love connecting history with today. So what that means is I can go to a location, and if I can bring up the spirit box or a portal or a Ouija board, I can get accurate or close to answers to responses from time periods. That is my bread and butter. That's my favorite. I can get accurate things from the time period, from when I'm asking. But I love all aspects of the paranormal. I do my own podcast with a couple of friends, and we venture into the all of the unknown, which can be from UFOs to Loch Ness monster to Bigfoot. I mean, it's all unknown. It's all paranormal.
And for the people that are listening, or for the people that don't know, I used to do a paranormal podcast as well. We were number one on Blog TV. We were number one on iBlog TV, which right now is there's no for me to air on there. I'm on You Now. It was Blog TV. If you remember back in the days of the wars with YouTube there.
Yes.
Um, as a podcaster, now I'm a podcaster as well into the paranormal. I do all things now. Our show turned into a variety show, but I'm still a paranormal investigator. I've been one for 21 years now. What you're saying Loch Ness monster, and you're saying some other creatures, which
Yep.
a lot of people don't get into. Have you been on any of those investigations?
I have not actually. I lied. So I have been on like Smith's Castle
Mm-hmm.
has not only does it have history of um, the wars, then it has slavery, but it also has elementals, Pukwudgies. There's different elementals, different folk creature that I've been around. I have investigated. I haven't done a full blown investigation on like Sasquatch or like
Yeah.
certain locations, but
Now,
I have dabbled a little bit.
Now, really quickly for our listening audience, because I think that is Native American stuff that you're talking about, I believe.
Pukwudgie is Native American, yes.
What are these things, and what do you mean by elementals? Are you actually talking fire and air and earth spirits and water spirits? Or are they the elementals as in, like, fairies and I mean, there's a whole genre you just touched on that I really are studying. But we don't.
Yeah,
Well, we do have it. I have a theory that Bigfoot is a troll, but every time I say that, people look at me weird. But I can explain it to you later on here as we talk
well,
about this. What are the differences for our listening audience? Because I know what they are. But these beliefs by Native American people that believed, that saw these things, that legitimately lived with these things, probably not in fear like we live with spirits and demons. They lived in, uh, um, I don't know if the word's harmony, but they lived in coexistence with each other. and it's very unique. So, what are those things, and what are they now in this world today?
Well, elementals are all of the above. Um, they come. It all depends on your faith. It all depends on um, certain Native Americans. Different tribes believe in different things. But Pukwudgies are an elemental that lives in the woods, and they're like a troll. If you ever seen that movie Harry Potter, um, you know
I've seen a few of. I've seen two of them, I believe.
well,
I play Dungeons and Dragons, so I pretty much know any monster
okay.
you're going to tell me.
All right. So for the listeners, if you watched Harry Potter, and if you've watched the World Bank, when they go into the World Bank where Harry Potter has all his treasure, that main goblin you see, it looks like a little troll or like a hedgehog.
Warwick Davis starred as him.
Yes, yes, exactly. That actually is a Pukwudgie. Um, that character is based off of Pukwudgie. Um, so it is a Native American law.
So they're
Which
little gnomes. He was more of like a goblin gnome mix, like a half goblin or something.
Yes, yeah. So they have so if you see pictures of them, well, there's drawings. You'll see they have they look like a hedgehog. Their body looks like a hedgehog, but their face looks like a goblin. Um, and they're very magical, mysterious creatures. They want to be left, but if they are threatened, they have been known to throw curses on people, to hurt people. But they're not dangerous creatures. They just want to be left alone. Um,
So
but
you've actually seen one of these things.
we've seen. I have seen. I haven't seen a great look at it. I've seen like one of those flashes, something ran by, and I would guess it
Yeah,
was that.
like a shadow person goes by you. You know darn well you saw a human figure, but
Of
you're
course,
not
you
too
know
sure
you
what it
saw
is.
it. Yeah, you know you saw it.
Now,
You don't
how
have
big
proof.
was it? How big? How? Because this stuff fascinates me with fairies and all of this stuff. It really does. In
Of
Europe,
course.
it's big. Here in America, it's not big as it is in Europe. But what did the thing look like? Did it actually look like they say it does, or like mermaids, where they don't look like they say they do?
Well, it was for a flash. It was for a set. But it looked probably the most maybe a foot and a half tall, um, or 2 feet tall. It was fast. But obviously they in folklore they're very pack like. I didn't see a pack or I didn't see a community of them. I just seen one flash run through the woods. But it was dark because obviously we do investigations at nighttime just for that that hit of dopamine. Um, but
Well, I have a theory on that you could do it in the daytime. Just as, something like this, I'd
of course,
definitely go in the day because the Native Americans weren't out at night seeing these things. They saw them in the
no,
daytime.
yes, of course. Well,
Um,
the reason, so like I said, paranormal happens when paranormal happens. It'll come
yeah.
out day and night. It doesn't
Huh?
matter. But the reason why people investigate at nighttime is our body produces dopamine when you're in certain situations, when you get adrenaline rushes. So that's why people investigate at nighttime. You don't have to. Um, but we were investigating at nighttime, and I happened to see it at that time. But like you said, overseas in there's Ireland, they have the leprechauns,
Hmm?
they have other elementals.
They.
But sorry.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I was just gonna let everybody know that's listening that might all of a sudden just go blank here. We're talking about fairies and other creatures that we're not used to. Now they're called. Say their name again because I can't, for the life of me, pronounce that.
Well, they're elementals.
Uh huh.
But what I was speaking of was called Pukwudgies. There's like 13, 14 different names for them.
Uh huh.
Um, but the one most commonly used is Pukwudgie. Um, but in there's other creatures that are native to the area, but because of modern day life, we don't really look into that. 'Cause
Yeah.
a lot of the woods and forests are being taken down for development, so that's where they live. They live in peace in the woods. So now that if you're going to take that down, you're going to start seeing them more and more in public.
Well, also, um, there's the fact that our minds are not used to this. We don't have a culture of the fairies and the leprechauns and oh God,
Sure.
we did something in the garden bad. Please leave a glass of wine for our elemental friends. Um, all my life, I don't believe I've ever seen anything like that. I don't believe I've ever seen says fairies and stuff. I started. Let's go into Bigfoot theory now. You know how Bigfoot looks. Our listeners know how Bigfoot looks. So
Yep.
we have that in our mind. Now I'm going to describe to you a troll. I'm going to describe the two abilities that I was told they do. They are large, hairy creatures that can be mean if they want to. They live in the woods. They live in mountains. They live underground. Um, they live in secluded areas where they will not go near civilization or man. The two things they're known for is their abilities to control something, like a psychic almost uh, powers or something of that nature where they can do stuff psychically to you, and they're known to disappear randomly. In other words, you see them walking and they'll disappear in the path. Now, to me, that describes a Bigfoot if anything else doesn't. Now,
Yeah, sounds.
yeah, go ahead.
No, it's. I mean, when you put it
Yeah,
like that, it does sound it because you don't really. Well, people don't really normally see them. They'll have encounters, but when you
yeah.
go out in the woods to actually try to find them, it's that
Yeah.
when they want to be seen, they'll be seen.
And the person that introduced me to trolls said, "What about your trolls?" Because we were talking about fairies and leprechauns and elves. Okay, and I said, "Well, elves are they're not just in fantasy and Dungeons and Dragons and all these other stuff. They're real elves. They're helpers for one thing, or they're evil things to another." And the person says, "Well, you guys have trolls," and I said, "We do." Like, okay. To me, a troll is, really fantasy. We're talking really weird here. And he
Yep.
described what a troll was, and I instantly said that's Bigfoot. But he said the colors are gray, or they're more skin toned. They're not all furry like a big ape. But
Hmm.
I sent him a picture of Bigfoot. I have two of them. I sent him one also. I found. I said, "Here, look at the history of uh, Pat Giblin story." I sent him the original story. I sent him two other ones. So about four things altogether he got. And he told me that's exactly what they call trolls. Exactly is. And he said
Yep.
the reason you can't see them is they'll go invisible. And he goes, they're dangerous. You're getting too close to them. If you can videotape them, you're too close. So I don't know. I don't know what to make of that. It, uh, it's a different belief system. Now, with these Pukwudgies, or wedgies, or
Well, geez. Yep.
wudgies, what elemental thing are they? Because
Well,
elementals are more water, earth, air, um, I guess
well,
spirit.
yeah. They are. Um, I don't want to say they're wrong. So basically they're woodland and they're forest creatures and but they do have the like magical abilities. They do have like I said the cloaking thing um like the Bigfoot or the trolls you saying they do have things like that. So elementals don't necessarily mean um the elements of the like the earth, water. Those are just spiritual creatures. So they don't have to stick to one or the other. Um,
Well, the forest would be an earth elemental. The earth,
yes, yeah,
the trees, the organic matter.
yeah. I believe so. I believe I, at one point or another, the entire Earth was covered in trees or woodland areas, and so at the time they could just live wherever they wanted to live. But now, because of urban development and things of that nature, they're more or less secluded into the woods and in the forests now. Um, but they're not they're dangerous when provoked. They're actually pretty amazing. Um,
Well,
People actually for good luck, what they do is they leave fruits, vegetables, flowers in little gardens for them for good luck
well, you're saying they're dangerous. A robin can be
when
dangerous
provoked.
if you went down there, if you near their
Of
nest.
course.
You know,
Yep.
it, you know, and this is another thing about the paranormal field. How far are we bothering something to get evidence for it? It's like Bigfoot. Do we really need to shoot it and capture it and all this other stuff? We wouldn't like it if it shot and captured us. I mean, aliens are supposedly doing that to us, and we don't like it.
Well,
And
my theory with paranormal is even with spirits, how do we know we're not haunting them?
well, yeah,
How do
there's an old comic to that effect on Facebook. The ghosts are watching the humans, going, I never believed in them.
yeah,
So, it, I mean, how do we know that they're not studying us? That we're weird, and they're the right.
yeah, yeah. Well,
Uh,
so there's a belief. Well, not a belief. I believe it. There's seven astral planes, and we're living on the living plane. Then there's the dead or like the hell or the heaven. Um, then there's a spiritual plane. There's different planes. Um, but how do we know that? Like sort of like the Marvel universe, how it has a multiverse. Um, how do we know that there's not multiple universes going at one time? At
well,
one,
we do. There was a study that, but you said something interesting, Marvel. Um, would any of this stuff be in folklore and film and stuff, and we're missing it? Like the films are giving us the answers.
I think so. It's funny you say that because I think and I'm not a conspiracy theorist by any, um, but if you watch any movie that has ever been made, it's all comes to fruition eventually. Um, and there's been movies that have shown elementals and things of that nature. But you ever see the movie Never Ending Story or
Yes,
Never Ending Book?
yes, I've read the book by David Endings. Yes.
Yeah, that movie in general showed a lot of that. Um, but we're at a young age. That's why even right now, when people are like fascinated with the UFOs and aliens have existed forever. You look at ancient societies; they're in hieroglyphics. They have been here forever. But
Hmm.
what happened from then to now? We are indoctrinated, and then we have the internet in our palms, in our kids watching TV, YouTube, and tablets all the time. So our brains have been basically hypnotized to just follow an order and go, day by day. But before, back in the early civilizations, they didn't have things like this. They didn't have electronics. They didn't have computers. They had word of mouth and they seen things. So um, it's if if we didn't have what we have now, I believe our eyes would be opened tenfold, so much more, and we would have more knowledge than we do now of the supernatural.
Well, I'm surprised we don't have the knowledge we do now. I mean, if you take a look at some of the videos people that has been debunked, I've sat back and said, "Whoa, wait a minute here. Let's rethink what you're debunking here." Um, Demons flying around the room, shadow people walking around hospitals, things in the woods, lights floating around in the woods, going back and forth after each other, Bigfoots, large shadow-like beasts, like I don't know if I'd call them werewolves or not, but that's what they look like, almost like hellhound type things. Recent
Yeah,
video online I saw. It,
but the problem is with online is people want to be famous real quick.
mm-hmm.
So a lot of the videos you watch are just edited and they're not real.
Mm-hmm.
They're just made for views, and that's the problem with. Let me ask you a question. So we can take an amazing picture, right,
Mm-hmm.
of Mars, Pluto, all these different planets, but we can't get a video of a Bigfoot 20 feet away from us.
It's interesting you
It's
said. It's interesting you said this. I had an argument the other day, um, of this nature. I said, it's a flat Earth argument. Obviously, everybody
yep,
knows I'm a flat Earther. They think I'm crazier than hell on that, but um, I said all this technology to take pictures of Mars and the stars and all this, and we don't. We found, I think it was 3 to 4 years ago, before COVID hit, we found a civilization in the Amazon. And we
I know you're talking.
have to leave them alone. We cannot interfere with them at all. We we can't even fly over them anymore because they probably thought it was something.
Yep.
Um, and we don't even know how big the Earth is. I have some theories. The Admiral Byrd story and all this stuff. It's pretty interesting you say that we can't get it. We can get a drug dealer selling drugs in his living with a drone camera that's not supposed to see through things, but we can't find Bigfoot in the woods.
Yeah.
We can't find lost people in the woods. We can't find how something happened. A crime takes place, and we have no satellites. The murders go unsolved, but yet they just told us that Mars has 2 caves they with the rovers. Doesn't make any sense. They don't know what's in the cave out west. They have no idea what's in that thing. They can't get in it far enough to see it. And
Even the
well, the ocean's their part. That's a whole nother topic. The ocean. That's a whole nother thing.
Yep.
That's just not even on my list of anything that because it's called the abyss by people for a reason. Indians and other civilizations call it an abyss. There's creatures in that water right now, and we're talking giant squid. Let's use that for an example. That when people thought they were crazy, they thought sailors were crazy. Why would a squid attack a ship in the first place? One, it's organic. Two, they didn't have the modern sonar to scare it away from the ship. And it's a big thing moving above it, so it just keeps following it till it latches onto it with its beak and bites right through it. Mermaids. I don't know if you're familiar with mermaids.
Yep.
What's the other thing? The Ogoweejul or something. This big white creature seen in floods and hurricanes, and it started with last time it was sighted was Hurricane Katrina. I mean, I can tell you what that is. It's probably a beluga whale that got caught up in a storm and was seen jumping off something and going back into the water. However, it's not a beluga whale. It's some kind of like slug-like thing. Loch Ness Monster, for instance. By the way, Loch Ness Monster would be 200 years old.
Yep.
How long do those things live for? Dinosaurs are still sighted in Africa. There's still Yucamanga. I can't say the name of that either. But they said, oh no, it's a hippopotamus. No, it's not a hippopotamus. Hippopotamuses don't have large necks.
Yeah.
And they don't have sharp teeth. They have tusk and flat, like our wisdom teeth. These other things have sharp teeth and will eat you. Well, all of our brontosauruses, that they said it is, there was a movie made about it called Baby.
I've seen that.
Yeah. If you ever want to watch a movie about something that could be a factual thing, not Jurassic Park, go watch Baby. The Diplodocus, Brontosaurus, Brachiostago, whatever it's called, Elithrodontosaurus. These names come from all of these giant, four-legged, long-tailed dinosaurs, like in Land Before Time. All those dinosaurs are actual dinosaurs. Well, this thing is living in Africa. The natives see it. The natives know what it is. They say it eats them. Well, according to science, those things were plant eaters.
Yeah.
What lizard eats plants that's that big? None of them.
No.
Um, Alligators eat plants. They eat algae once in a while. They'll bite down a, a few of those lily pads, but they're primarily,
Carnivorous.
yeah, carnivorous.
Yeah.
They're basically omnivores. They'll eat anything they can get in their mouth.
Yeah. Even in Vermont, I think it's Vermont, Lake Champlain,
Uh huh.
they had Champ. The
Well, see, that thing floated away. The stories have gone away, so I don't know
well,
if it's
yeah,
still there.
that is because they drained a big portion of the lake for certain purposes. Well, they said they never did, but there was a documentary on that before.
Mhm.
But obviously it could have reached past its age limit and just passed away. And there's so many different theories, but there's if the world is huge
Yeah,
and the world is 70% ocean, right?
yeah.
Water. And we haven't even seen the bottom yet, and we haven't even ventured into the Amazon.
There is no
But
bottom of the ocean.
no, I'm just but they wanna go to Mars and they want to venture
Yeah.
into space. We need to find out what's there first.
All of the money that was made into NASA last year, we could have
Yeah.
found a cure for cancer. We could have found it.
Oh, of course. Well, that's pharmaceutical. That's a
Um,
whole different story, but
well, no, I'm just saying money wise, what we could have
oh,
done with that. We
sure.
could have found a cure for cancer. What are we going up to the moon for? There's no more moon. They say there's a huge thing. It blocks us from getting there. Well, you didn't block it from before getting there on 5 trips.
Yep.
Now we're in trouble with the Russian American joint program, which is a whole nother story.
Yep.
But there's video up there of stuff that's happening, and that's why I might be 70% flat Earth, but I still believe in aliens. I still believe there's stuff out there.
Yeah. If there's millions and millions of galaxies, we'd be kind of naive to think that we're the only living and intelligent sentient beings.
Well,
But
don't even
sorry.
get me started on sentient beings. Don't even get me started. A dog, the family dog, can smell 150 something smells. It can
Yeah.
know 92 commands. And it can tell me if there's somebody outside before I even look out the window or think of getting outside. And it can tell me what the bird is doing in the tree. It's got to be just as smart as me, if not smarter.
Of course.
And we ignore it.
Well, in modern day civilization, yes. But older civilizations, such as like the Egyptian, they idolized dogs and cats. They actually built sphinxes out of them. They built monuments towards them. So our civilization has.
Well, there's another
Yeah,
theory on that too, a biblical theory. If you go in the Bible, it describes what angels look like, all the animal heads and stuff. Each
yeah,
of the Egyptian gods has one of those. Fallen angels came by and talked to them.
yeah.
But that's another subject too. Now that we're on this alien stuff subject, what do you think of that stuff? Like parallel worlds and aliens and now that we're talking about it,
Yeah.
have you ever done any cases with that?
So I haven't done any cases with that. But what I do is, my cousin owns 7 acres of land in Rhode Island, and I go there and we have a whole section where it's just knocked down, and there's no light pollution, no noise pollution. We just sit out there and we call it stargazing.
Yeah.
you can see the satellites. You know, you can see the stars clear as day. There's millions of them. We've never. I can't get a camera to focus that well. I don't have that good of a camera, but I've seen objects that have darted across the sky, stopped dead, and then just went a different direction on a dime. And it's you can't say that's a space. You can't say that's a regular ship. You can't say it's a satellite
That
because
we know
satellites
of.
off
That we
it.
know of.
Yeah, of course that we know of. But I'm a very firm believer that there is life on other planets, and I am a very firm believer that they had a very big role on where we are today. I believe that they did come down to other ancient civilizations um, because there's irrefutable evidence of what look like spacemen in spaceships on hieroglyphics or in the Aztec or the Incan hieroglyphics. You can see them in in their writing. So I'm a very firm believer that we were visited at one time and still to this day. Um, but we're I don't think as as humans, I don't think we're ready to know if aliens exist. Um, I really
I
don't
think we
believe we're
already
ready.
know the answer.
Oh, I know. We're naive. We're very naive as a young civilization. We're very naive at everything that's going on in
Well,
the
that's a
world today.
very interesting topic. We're very naive and very young. Um,
Very.
Professor. No, he's a professor in New York University. He stated, I forget his name, it slips me now. He stated that we're not even up to the level to even say we're half there yet.
Oh yeah, not even. I don't think we're a quarter there yet. Because no disrespect, and I don't want to take this the wrong way, but we're we have gender identity, we have political identity, we have all these things that we're afraid of in modern day society. Um,
Or
but
people are made us afraid of it.
yes, exactly. Well, that's the thing. We're trying to be led into like to thinking certain things, but that is where a lot of our problems lie. Because if one day, like I said, we already know the answer, but if one day a space came down
Mm-hmm.
with like people of Earth, you know, we're here. The world would cease to exist at that moment, and it would go crazy. Uh,
There's some
you would
believe it already did, though. They've already come
yeah,
here, though. They've already
in
talked to our
different
government.
mass society, yeah, and it's
There's,
worrisome.
what, 7 different alien species on Earth, they claim? And some of them even look like us, and we'd never know it.
Well, then you have like the conspiracy things, like the lizard people. I don't even know. I so like we're so fashioned to believe like Marvin the Martian, you know, guy, he's or little green men or these big-eyed, you know, small people, but they could just be like us, but just look just like us, just far more advanced.
Well, it brings as a yawn. It brings another point to this whole conversation. Have you ever heard of the experiment that was done with the moon by Russia? I hate to bring up Russia now, but
Yep.
this is something different besides war. They
The
sent a
drilling?
cosmonaut up there.
Okay.
4 times, I guess, and 3 of those times it was un unsuccessful.
Yep.
And they have recordings of him screaming and all this. They sent another one up. He said he sees something. I got to come back. Da 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 da. They successfully did it. X Files did the same story, only they changed everything around on purpose for TV. And what it was some kind of spiritual alien being from another world that could take over your body and possess you.
Yep.
I'm a firm believer that maybe shadow people, maybe some of the spirits that we call demons, Maybe there's something else out there that have discovered and don't know what to call it.
Yeah.
Maybe aliens, maybe life forms to us. Um, we, I don't know how to say it. I don't believe we're stupid and dumb and
Not,
all
not,
that. But I believe we're very slow at catching on to what something might be. Many a times I've done paranormal investigations of somebody that has brought something from another world to us.
of course.
And many a times I've sat back and said, this is not a demon. This is not a human spirit. This is another being that lives differently than us from somewhere else. And I can't explain it. And you know that feeling as a paranormal investigator where you have to sit there and say, I guess so.
Yeah. Yep.
The audience, I can describe it for our audience. Now, I don't know if all of our audience does this, but whenever you watch professional wrestling, and the professional wrestlers do something that you don't like, you have to accept the match that's on TV. It was planned. Maybe it wasn't planned. Maybe they gave you something you didn't like for entertainment. A boxer might lose a match, or something might happen. Or during a race, one of the guys unpurposely crashes or something. You have to accept it. That's the same feeling it is with paranormal investigations. You have to accept it, and you have to say, okay. Because I can't explain it. I've been on 2 cases like that where I could not explain what that was. It
Yeah.
wasn't intelligent, as far as I'm called intelligence, but it was communicating with me. And it was there, like there with me. It didn't harm me, but it definitely was not a spirit. It definitely wasn't a demon that I know of. I mean, so whatever it was, and this was from an alien abduction case. So I don't know what to say about it. But
Well,
I do wish I took more video. I do wish I had more sound evidence. I do wish we kept stuff. You know how you give the client information and then,
yeah.
I wish I could have talked about it, but they refused to let us talk about it. And this is years ago, so the paper, most of those things are, 2 years. So those listening saying, oh, you're talking about it. No, this was a while.
Yeah.
And we're not giving names or anything.
Of course. So they say certain alien species are telepathical. They can speak to you, via telepathic.
Well,
It could have been something like that as well. They could have had an aura.
yeah.
They could have telepathically were speaking to you, and we're not used to that. Even like mediums and psychics, they see on different levels. They see things that normal people don't see. And it could be the same thing because how do we know? Because we don't have that ability.
Well, I can give our listeners a perfect example. A spider is living in a web on your porch. You go up to put up Christmas lights and you see the web and say, okay, I'm making this whole area so the spider can never come back. You just disrespected a whole another world to you. A bee flies by you and you say, oh, look at that bee, or the hornet. Hornets do it at the park all the time. To my daughter, when we took her to the park, she'd get a popsicle or something from the little food stand, and these hornets would start flying around. So I would say, give me a piece of your popsicle or ice cream or something, drip some over there, and I would look. Everybody thought I was weird doing this, but it worked. Number one, it worked. It kept the hornets away from the kids. 2, I believe they were intelligent enough to know what I was doing, because I'd look around and say, hey, here's some food for you. Please go over there and not bother our children. Our kids, there are, whatever. And sure enough, these hornets would go over to that other table and eat the ice cream and fly around amongst each other. And we told other people stay away from them. But it goes to show that another life form and another way of living and another creature can coexist with us. Why can't an alien do it? That hornet is as alien to me in what it does and what I do to it, to each other, as an alien from another planet. In fact, we are on here on the same planet right now, and both of us are two different things. An octopus lives on this planet right here. Me and you can't go in the water, and it can't come out here, not for very long. I think they can only be out of water for about 10 minutes. But, look at dolphins. They breathe oxygen, but they're in water. They could never do well on land.
Yep.
So we already have things that are here. So if we have things that are here that we don't take, responsibility of, I guess, respecting them, how are we going to do it to it if advanced civilization comes here?
Yep. But we're afraid of what we don't know.
Well, yeah, and here's another thing. If you're an alien and I told you I'm going to take you to a planet where they chop down sentient living beings and make furniture out of them, would you go there? I certainly would. That's what we do with trees. We chop them down. They're living life forms. They give us oxygen and help us, and we make furniture out of them.
Yep.
I mean, no wonder these aliens aren't coming to Earth. They don't want to be turned into furniture.
I don't blame them.
I mean, humans are a very bad species. You know?
Unfortunately, we don't learn from our history. And history is repeating itself.
We learn, but we learn the opposite. We learn how to do it better or worse.
Yep.
The worst stuff we did, we learn how to do better. Now, this brings up another topic. Do you believe that NASA and all those have already found it and we're at war? Or they're covering up Bigfoot? You said you don't get into conspiracies, but here's a conspiracy for us to talk about. They already say they know Bigfoot exists. There's some conspiracies saying they know it. They know what he is. Obviously, they're the government. And they're hiding it.
Of course, the government, hiding it. I mean, well, that's another big problem with human society is people believe that one person or a group of people should have more knowledge than you. Which what I mean by is like let's say the United States government. There's so many things that they hid that have come to fruition, that have come and you've seen them. So now it's like, all right, well, can I trust them? Can I trust and believe what they're saying to us?
Wow. We have to believe it, and we have to hear it.
You ever heard of Bob Lazar?
Yes.
So I'm not sure if you
I'm very familiar with that. Absolutely familiar with it.
I've watched all his documentations. I've watched all his videos. And
there's two things I disagree with that guy, and the two things that I disagree with him, I disagree with almost everybody that goes to or works a government job. I don't believe he was fighting with his wife. I think that's a made-up story. I think it's to protect him. And they say they can't find school evidence. Okay, go and find, anybody that did a job like that if they can find their school records. I can't even get a record. We can't even get records for people for college now, and people have such a hard time giving their birth certificate and an ID from the DMV. How are you going to get, in today's world with all these privacy laws, somebody's college records?
Yep.
And that's that's kind of the first thing in a nutshell is the story and the records and all this stuff of him being there. The second one is, I don't know why somebody, another theorist, hasn't said, "Oh yeah," or a company said, "Okay, give us plans to build that," and him make it, and they actually do it again. I would
Yep.
think he would be absolutely a prime target, if you would.
Yep.
Not a bad target, but a target, someone, a recruitment tool to recruit him to work for you because
Yep.
he's already done the best. I don't understand those two things. And he has the car. Why hasn't he shown it?
Yep.
There's the three things that I don't get in the story, which I don't get with any of these stories
Yeah.
and any of that stuff. You can't find records. So let's cross off the college records. Forget it, buddy. You went to college.
Yep.
Okay. Why aren't you showing us your car? And why haven't you gotten another job? You know what I
True.
mean?
But it could be in the same aspect of blacklisted or like I
You're
mean the men in
blackballed.
black the men in black have gone to his house and did the little brain neuralizer on him.
You do know the Men in Black are a different organization, right? They're not government. The government, I found out this a long time ago. The government contracts out to other agencies.
Yes.
We have mercenaries that go to war with us.
Yeah.
That are mercenaries that are trained to kill people. Um, our military's not snipering everybody, and I'm not afraid to say it on our show. We know this stuff now, but the problem with that whole story is, if he did such a good job, why can't a business jump on him and say, "Hey, you were the number one in a secret military thing. We want all of your knowledge. You went to the school, you worked on these plans. We would like you to help us invent stuff. We would like you to be an engineer for us. How much do you want?"
Yeah.
I don't. And where's the car? This mysterious car he owned. Where is it?
Oh yeah. The world will never know.
Well, made with alien technology car. Where is it? But that's just two things. There's another thing that's going on TikTok where a gentleman's stuck in a dimension, or he says he is.
Yeah.
We have John Teeter, who went back in time. I followed that story very well. We have I forgot what the computer program is called, but it's a mysterious computer program that every now and then writes to people, certain people, and tells them from another side. So there's a lot of things with this stuff. Now, what do you agree with this with Bob Lazar and these other things, or?
Um. So I don't. I do follow it, and I have done my own research on it. Um. So there's holes in a lot of stories, but I do believe that in the '60s, the '50s, and '60s, um, they didn't have as they were secretive, but they didn't have it to where they are nowadays. And I do believe that they had contracted people to come in of
Of
certain
course.
scientific background to do research and I do believe that there are people, especially scientists, that believe um, that if there is alien life and the government does have it, that it's the government's responsibility to tell the civilization, Americans, tell Americans, and allow the private sector to, you know, use it to advance our civilization. I do believe that did happen. Um, I'm not sure about everything else that happened. He was blackballed,
Well,
black man.
well, there's some say that he's fabricated this story. However, their fabrications of what he's fabricated is anybody could do that.
Of course.
Uh, However, he's consistent with his story.
He has been for the
He's
past what?
taken people to the same place where he worked and said right there, and it was exactly what he said it was. In history, somewhere, some people have found there's a journalist that works for Mexican Forgot his name. See, the names aren't coming to me, but I know the positions of the people and what they did. They were on TV and everything. Um, he went and found some other stuff about Bob Lazar and some other weird, whatever, anomalies on this case that even asked more questions like, where did he live? He said he lived somewhere, and Bob Lazar took him to where they lived. He's done all this stuff. Well, the people in that neighborhood said, oh, yeah, we know him. He's the weirdo that used to have to go in a van to work every day. Well, unless he went in a van to work every day, he just told us they took him to work.
Yep.
He boarded a plane or something that now we know is a company that, by the way, is the same kind of plane that hit the World Trade Center. With the red stripe down the side of it. Just so we put that in there for conspiracy listeners right now. And there's something else, something to do with the post office. And the mail was something about a P.O. box or something. And they've concerned it. So, if he fabricated this story, how is he going to fabricate his neighbors? People that live there that don't know a darn thing about this, that don't follow it, or if they do, they don't care. Companies the company that he worked for, and their contracts they found that he's worked on before he got that contract. So, it's very interesting. And these points I bring up, look at the guy's history of work. He had to work somewhere before he worked there. What other things has he done after, And that's the part that gets fishy. Now, no other job after you do that job. You retired from there, and then you go somewhere else for a while before he told the story. You know what I mean?
Of course.
What'd he do? What'd he work on? What'd he do? Work at McDonald's? And this car he made from alien technology, where is it?
Yeah, there's a lot of holes. Definitely holes, but, supposedly they went and they erased them.
Well, I don't think they're erased. I think, like you said, very poor record keeping, very poor stuff kept. Who knows? Maybe the college threw it out. You get have all the college records and papers, and they burn them. They send them to the recycling plant. And, well, I don't know if he was here or not. We're going to have to look in the science section. And the science section says, I'm not talking about him. Bye. He's one of the students that got a good job. Goodbye. And that's the end of the subject. Oh, we're not going to talk about him. Thank you. Well, right then and there, I'm going to look at him and say, why won't the school mention him? But you'll mention the two girls that made it to a Hollywood movie, won't you? It's just weird.
Of course. But like I said, that just shows, like, a matter of fact, I've been watching a lot of different UFOs documentaries, and we've had evidence they've been here forever. It just nobody was interested in. It's out there. The information's out there. The video, you can make your own assumptions.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm afraid we've been visited before. They're here now, and
now, do you believe they're dangerous? Or there's some people believing that their species dangerous, living with species that aren't, to stop the from doing anything to it. If we went somewhere to stop somebody else from doing something to somebody else.
Well, so my take with this is, anything can be dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
But what my biggest thing is this: if they're so far advanced that our society is nowhere even matched to them, if they wanted to do harm to us, they would have done harm to us. I'm more inclined to think that they came here and they've seen how far behind we are and or how young we are, and they're just trying to, like, throw hints here and there to put us on our way. That's what I want to believe. Because if you want to think if they're harmful, if they wanted to do harm to us, they would have already done harm to us.
Yeah, well, We don't know if they did. Some believe that the COVID
They could have.
virus was an alien virus. AIDS was an alien virus.
Well, COVID
Some believe
19.
cancers are alien type
Yeah.
stuff that's happened to us. However, if we have these diseases, maybe we're hurting them. I mean, look at the smallpox. Smallpox is a definite definition. They
Yeah.
they wiped out many, numerous, hundreds, thousands, whatever you want to call it,
The United States
Native
did it to
Americans,
the. Yeah.
and the United States did it to them. That well, I'm
Yep.
not saying
On
that part of
purpose.
it, but now that you
Yeah.
mentioned it, for our listeners, they wrapped themselves in blankets with smallpox and then gave the blankets to the Native Americans.
Yep.
That alone tells me that there's some people out there that wouldn't give a damn to do something.
Oh, of course, but that's in any society though. There's always gonna be that group of individuals or aliens or anything that think they're superior to others. But my own personal thinking, I would love to think that they're not here to hurt us. They're just here to help. They wanna see us thrive and be part of a bigger scenario.
Now, there is a another structured argument to this, that just like the Native Americans did stuff to other people, that we have done stuff to aliens and they're getting revenge. They're coming here to stop stuff and harm us and all this stuff.
Well, yeah, if you believe in
And
Roswell, if you believe in
well,
aliens,
I know
yeah,
what Roswell was.
yep,
We screwed up. We flew the craft and crashed it. Simple.
yep,
We also, if you look at the Grand Canyons out west, there was at one time maybe Earth was a strip mining community.
yep.
We have, which goes into another story of these aliens. We have stuff here that may not be found anywhere else, or it's very far away and hard to get.
Yep.
We have gold. We have minerals. We have irons. We have elemental, the big, huge elemental chart there of the elements, the real elements, not the earth, wind, fire, and water. But maybe our earth was a place to get rich from, to get the gold, to get the silver, to get the salt, to get, all of this stuff. I, I hate that. I hate that idea of saying something, but I mean, look at the Grand Canyons. Have you ever been out there? I don't know if you've ever,
I have been no.
but I've looked at pictures of people that have it, or pictures of stuff that look like big dig and cut marks that you would find from a construction area. And like you said, there's been documentaries on it. But anyways, let's get into the next set of questions here. What's the good and the bad of this business? The field you're in, the goods and the bads, or any good stories, bad stories. If somebody, our listeners, would want to get in this field, what would you tell them for the good and bad?
So there is pros and cons. It's with the development of the internet and YouTube and social media. This being a paranormal investigator is no longer taboo. It used to be taboo. It also was the beginning of the Salem witch trials. Back in the day, if you were a medium,
I've been to Salem. I went there.
Yeah, I was
for
actually
crap.
I was there 2 days ago. It was amazing. But so the pros and cons. So the pros, I've been able to help people. I've shown people. I brought them on investigations with me. I showed them how to use the tools, open their eyes. There was non-believers before, and then they left believers. So it's always to help somebody and show and open somebody's eyes. But there are negative things in this. If you're not a seasoned vet when it comes to the paranormal and you don't do your research on demonic entities, bad spirits, just curses, all these different scenarios, if you don't do your history and your research before this happens, anything can happen to you. I've been naive before, and I've had an attachment to myself, and I had to have help to rid myself of that attachment. Um,
And
I
how
have
did that
kids,
happen for the? This is very influential for the listeners to hear.
of course.
How
So,
did that happen, and how did you get it off? For the
so
listeners' sake, I know how, but to tell
of
the
course,
listeners something so they, this is the dangers of the field, so to speak.
of course. So, when I first started with PLS, I can't tell you the location because I did sign an NDA. Um, but I went to a location and I was naive. I wasn't. Now I wear my Saint Michael's prayer. I say my prayer. But before I didn't. I was very naive and my first time going, and I went to said location and I did an investigation. We had a lot of interactions. I was touched. Um, we were yelled at. There's a lot of things that have happened. So that night, I developed a bad headache, and it was one of those headaches that you can't open your eyes with a light. It would hurt, like a very bad migraine. Um, I was very um, down in the dumps. I was very anti-social, and it was my wife noticed it, and she mentioned it to me, and then I reached out to our medium slash spiritualist that was in our group, and she gave me a ritual it's a cleansing ritual for attachments. And basically you go into the bathroom, you run yourself a nice cool warm cool water bath. You have to make sure you turn the lights off, but you have to light candles, white candles, only positive energy candles. And you're supposed to do a ritual in the bathroom, in the bathtub. And when you're done, you watch the candles flicker out, and then you drain the water, and all that negative spirit energy just washes away. It took a couple of days for it to go away, but eventually I had this for 3 weeks, and eventually it went like it was nothing. Um, and ever since that happened, I've been getting into demonology. I'm doing courses in that, and I've spoke to Keith Johnson, who is a great demonologist, great person. Um, he's gave me some hints, some prayers, some cleansing prayers. It's a very dangerous environment if you're not aware of what you're doing, because if you're opening yourself up and you're not pure-hearted and you just invite them in, you can be inviting some bad things in, and that's very nerve-wracking and very scary because you don't know what it is. Demons are not good.
No, they're not. Now this bath is interesting because washing the stuff away. Now you actually have to sit in the bath till the candles go out.
So you sit in there for a couple hours and you just think positive thoughts.
So
There's
you
more
kind of
to it.
meditate without drowning yourself in a bathtub.
Pretty much, yeah. You meditate, but you want to make sure that you're in a safe space. You want to
Yeah.
make sure that you are just thinking positive thoughts. And there is other aspects to it. I don't remember the entire ritual. There's things you have to say and do, and um, I could get the whole ritual for you if
Hold your
you'd
head
like.
underwater for 5 minutes while you think positively about your life.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
yes, yes, yeah.
100%.
Um, no, don't do
But
that, anybody. Don't.
no, don't do that. It's not good. You won't
It
wake
just
up.
sounds
Um,
weird that you're in a bathtub when you did this. It just.
yeah, because you want to be able to get all the negativity off you. Because if you want to think of it, they're not only are they holding you mentally,
Yeah.
they're holding you physically.
Well, technically, as I yawn,
Sorry.
the your body will react to it. For our listeners, if you get a attachment that's going to get in your body and try to possess you, your body will fight it back, and that's why you get sick.
Yes.
Your body will not, your spirit will not allow it to be in the body. You're not a car. You're not going to have three, four things in you.
That's if
Um,
you're pure. That's if you're pure-hearted, though. if you have if you have if you're a vile person and or you've done wrong like negative and or negative
Yeah, but
things,
your body's still going to
your body will
suffer.
fight it, but it's less inclined to actually fight it.
Yeah,
You're
but
more
you're
inclined
going to
to
get
let it in.
sick. You're going to see things happen.
Oh,
You're
of
not
course.
going to be of
Oh,
good of health. You're not going to, you know, you're not going to be really jolly. You're not,
oh
like you
no,
said,
definitely not.
negativity. And we mean depression and negativity. And
All the above.
I've never felt it, but I know a few people that have, now counting you, that have told me it's like your whole world is just being literally drained from you, but your world's not going anywhere.
Yes,
So it's like
I've had things
emptying a
come home
water
with me.
cooler, but the water's not going anywhere. The water cooler is still there. It's just bubbles in the middle, and it looks like it's empty, but really there's water in there when you try to get a glass of water.
Yeah.
I mean that's a poor analogy, but that's what I was told, and I don't ever want to feel it. I don't want to
Have,
find out what happened.
so you said you're a paranormal investigator.
Yeah,
Have you had anything come home with you?
I don't know. Um, I have many times thought that something may have, but we've always take precautions. That's the first thing we learned or paid
Well,
attention
yes.
to is if I'm going in somewhere, I'm asking God to be with me. And we've always struggled on that. That if someone's going to go on an investigation with us, you're going to stand there and you're going to do something so nothing attaches itself to you or anybody else. That was the first rule we made in our paranormal group, that we will protect ourselves at all costs and each other
Of
at all
course.
costs. And
Um,
I'm a big guy,
we
so I've had to
yeah.
come to many, protections of, Wade standing there. He's here if anything happens. Luckily, nothing has. One time it did happen. I'm not going to discuss it. I don't really have permission to go into the case, but I had to react and grab my friend and take him out of the room and end the session right then and there because something was happening. And it was a quick thought, and it was done. I've had other cases where I've sat there and said, I'm not being in this room anymore. We went up to Buffalo for the cases on the ships, and this guy proceeded to ask spirits to come in him and use everybody in the room to prove themselves there. Well, I got up and walked out.
That's not
I'm not.
okay.
Well, I really don't think to play the devil's advocate. He wasn't doing
Yes.
it to be mean. He wasn't doing it to be nasty. He wasn't doing it to prove. He was doing it because he wanted proof. That was his group, his thing. You know, several groups there, so that's we all walked in and said, hey, let's observe and see how other people do things. Learn from other people. There's a great lesson experience. The group was fantastic, and the group that invited us up there was fantastic. But just that moment kind of gave me the willies, um, uh, you know. But that happens when you go on group. I guess I don't know excursions I call
That,
them.
that's why I said, and
Um,
that's why now I go solo, but I also do go on investigation with other groups. Um, I had I had a time, and I can talk about this. I had at Smith's Castle. I had so when we go
now,
there.
now, where is this place? Because somebody might be interested in the history, and like you said,
Okay.
I am. I like to know what the place has or holds or why you went, or I like to know the cases. I like to know, even if you can't talk about locations, the cases, something happened.
Okay. The location is Richard Smith's Castle. It's in North Kingston, Rhode Island. It is actually there's a book written about it called Plantation in Yankee Land. Um, it's a plantation. There was slaves on it. Um, they actually just recently got their slave medallion for historical purposes. Um, but the house was a very big point for Roger Williams. It was originally his property, but he sold it to Richard Smith, and there's been a lot of other people that had it in the meantime. Um, but
So
he
what is
basically
this, a castle-like area?
so so it's called Smith's Castle,
Uh-huh.
but it's a house.
Okay.
It's a colonial house. Um,
A
it's
mansion
actually
type house or just a normal
it
house?
was it was at one point. Are you familiar with the Great Swamp War?
Yeah, I think I learned that from interviewing the other gentleman. But yeah, it was a revolutionary type, local type American
Yeah,
war.
basically it was a
The
the Great Swamp
Indians
War
fought
was
the,
retaliation.
colonists.
Yes.
One of
So what they
those
did
times that we have in our history, unfortunately, and very sad,
that
that we
blemish. Not,
decided to look at another person and the way they lived and said, I don't like it, so we're going to do something.
yes.
In a nutshell, that's what happened.
Yep. Unfortunately, that's what happened. Um, so what they did in retaliation, what they did was they burnt down pretty much half of Rhode Island, and they burnt down half of Smith's Castle. So they rebuilt it. It's not as big as it once was. It is slightly smaller, but it's an amazing place. A lot of historical things have happened there. A lot of presidents have gone there. Um, there's a lot of things that there's 40 soldiers that are from the King Philip War that are buried on the location. Um, so we go there and do paranormal tours. And this one time, a friend of mine was supposed to come, and I'm waiting for him. And this lady walks up to the building and says, "I'm a medium, and somebody's going to cancel tonight, so I want their spot." I was like, "Unfortunately, we're booked with COVID regulations booked." And as she said that, my buddy calls me and says, "I'm stuck in traffic. I'm not going to make it." So he had to cancel. So the guy that was there, the curator at the time, he was like, "Okay, wants to pay." Ended up paying, and she was put into my group. I had four individuals plus her, so I had five altogether. And we're walking through the house, and she kept on saying, "I feel this, I feel that," and she kept on saying things. Um, so then we go up to the children's room where the slave children would stay, and she is she kept on asking me to do a seance, and we don't do seances. I'm not familiar with them. I don't do them. They're very
Yeah.
dangerous if you don't do it correctly. Um,
And I'm going to
so
add to this that yes, they are. They're not something you want to do. And by the way, I don't think she's too psychic telling you that somebody's going to cancel. Anybody could cancel a tour.
of course, well that's why
But on seances, really quick for our listeners today, I don't support. I mean, I've done them. I don't mind if it's a right atmosphere. It's done right. It's for a perfect. It's going to prove something scientific behind it. But if you're just going to do seances and play with Ouija boards and act out and do stuff for fun, it's not acceptable and it's dangerous.
very dangerous. So um, we go into this room, and now what I do is I hand each person the the spirit box. Um, and for anybody that doesn't know what a spirit box is, it's a small radio that scans the AM and FM radio stations in succession. So they
What
go
kind
front
was
to
it? Because some of our listeners might want to know. I have a PSB. I have a few others. I have a Radio Shack hack.
so
What?
it's an SP7.
Okay.
I had the old one. It's the SP7, but now you can get there's SP11s.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I recommend if anybody wants to get anything that's familiar with like spirit boxes, look up portal box. Portals are a lot better. They take the reverb out, so you don't hear the. You just
I
hear
would
the.
love to find out how to do that and build one. I really would, but I can't. I
So
can't find anybody.
Dennis, I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
Dennis
Yeah.
was the other guy that was with me. I'm pretty sure you
Yeah, I
interviewed
think
him.
he's the one that we
He
interviewed. Yes.
Yep. So he actually makes them. So if anybody wants them, reach out to Dennis Smale. He can
Yeah.
teach you how to do it, or maybe
We
possibly
discussed it a little,
have him
but I tried it and I can't seem to get the same effect. I got the two.
It's a little different.
They're what are they called in musical instruments? I don't even know what they're used for.
The
Something
music
about
boxes.
no, they cut the gain or noise out of guitars and drums and all this stuff?
The we have the reverb, the foot pedals. We have
Yeah, yeah. What are the foot pedals really used for, though?
they take so basically what they're they're used to take away all the reverb.
Okay.
So all that extra interference you would get
Yeah.
with the regular spirit box, you're not going to get it with the portal. You'll still hear very slightly, but you're gonna hear the words come out. And a lot of times they hear the and there's this quick voice,
What we
and
call
people
the
are,
choo-choo train effect.
yes, pretty much, yeah. It's
But
just
I
basically
like hearing that because it helps me because I've heard that stuff go away and children's voices coming across the thing.
yep.
I
So with that, so I hand each an individual spirit box. Okay, well, the person's name is John. Like, hey, John, you go first. So he activated the spirit box, and nothing comes across. So the next person,
So it's a guided routine, right? It's not just
Yeah,
they do whatever they want. You're guiding them, you're helping them, you're making sure it's done right.
well, this is what I do. So basically, they pay for them to do their own paranormal investigation. What I do is I lend them our gear, and I will guide them. So a lot of times, people go on dates and they go to these places. They want to know about the paranormal, so they go to these guided tours.
Uh-huh.
But when you're face to face with this, you freeze. So I've been doing this for so long. I know the words and how to.
I bet you me and you could have a whole show on horror stories of how people acted on these tours too.
Oh yeah. So
Unbelievable.
sorry. So basically, I end up doing the entire investigation, and they're just there for the ride. But so I hand each person the spirit box, and it comes to this lady, and we make sure we make a point. We don't provoke, because not only this is my motto. You got to treat them with respect as if they were a human, because at
Yeah.
one point they
Yeah.
were.
Well, they still could be. How
Of
do
course, we
we?
don't know this.
I say it like this: just because they're missing the body doesn't mean they're still human.
Yeah, of course.
Being human
So
does not mean you have a physical, biological body. You could
no,
be living without your body and still move on and living. We're not sure what the spirit actually can do and stuff.
exactly. So, it goes to her, and she's like, I'm trying to think of her name. She basically called it out, and I'm like, ma'am, we don't do that. We're very respectful to this place, and she starts calling the spirits cowards. She was
She's
giving false
taunting. That she basically
She was.
taunted them
She
and
was, but
them.
so my main thing. I'm a paranormal investigator.
Yeah.
My main thing is I I research everything. So I don't. If I go to a location, I will research the location for deaths, all major things that have happened. She was saying things that weren't truthful, and I kept on telling her, "Ma'am, you can't say that. That's not correct." And also, we don't do that. And at this point, she hums the spirit box at me. She grabs it and she throws it right at my face. I catch it, and I'm like, "Okay, well this session's over." I walked her downstairs, and we end up escorting her off the location. But the house itself went from a very active location to a very heavy location where, like, it was very thick to breathe in, and we weren't getting any responses on any of the spirit boxes. And I was like, all right, we're gonna do one final.
Basically, the place got mad at you.
It did. The spirits got very angry. So I was like, we're gonna do one final spirit box session with the entire group, and we're gonna see what they say. So I'm asking questions. Nothing's coming through. I'm like, do you want us to leave? And clear as day said yes. So I was like, okay. We packed up our stuff and we finished the location. So
So basically,
we
she ruined it for everybody else.
she did, but like what I was getting at was from earlier. You were saying that people can bring things in.
Yeah.
and I believe she brought something negative with her, and she tried to release it. Like she wanted to do seances and stuff like that. She wanted to bring whatever she brought with her to life. She wanted to like
Yeah.
put it onto other people. And we
She
don't do
wanted
that stuff.
she wanted a disattachment. It's called. It's
Yes,
like an
and
attachment, only you're dropping it off. It's like a delivery. She wanted to deliver whatever was going on with her, or whatever she had, or whatever she was
yeah, she
told.
wanted to pass it off
She
to
could have
somebody else.
been told to do this from the other side. For
Yep.
our listeners, there's 100 things that this woman could have had done. That she showed up weirdly. That's pretty weird.
Yes, out of the blue.
She another person was stuck in traffic. What does she do to make the traffic? What was her background? Was she a psychic or a witch? Witches can talk to other stuff. People that practice witchcraft. I hate to use the word witch because the word witch, the warlock, possessor, sorcerer, all this stuff. There's people that do magic that are very nice people. So
Of course,
I
I
don't
know
like
them.
using the word witchcraft, but I'm going to use it in this text that she probably was under witchcraft and decided to do something evil to destroy whatever you had or your thing, or maybe somebody was in competition or didn't like your thing, and the forces that to be, so to speak, got
Yep.
somebody to do this. Now, did you ever see her again? Nobody knows who she was,
No,
so that's
no,
pretty
we
weird.
actually we I got her name, and I basically blacklisted her from any event from our things. Um,
Yeah, but does
there's
anybody know who she is? Is she known? Is she not? I mean, is it
no,
just a
nope,
random that you'll never see
random
again?
person.
That is a very
Yeah,
weird
I never
story. That's
even met her.
very
Like,
weird.
and yeah, I was getting bad vibes, and I'm I'm actually in the process of, because I don't want to say the wrong thing. So I've seen things in my life.
Yeah,
I've seen things that other people have not seen.
you have
I have like a
experiences.
Yep, but I also have like a medium feel. I don't call myself a medium. I have feelings, and I can like I have
You
like
have
vibes I get.
potential psychic powers, is what I call it.
Yes, and I'm going to classes to learn how to hone that.
Yeah.
But I'll never call myself that because that's very disrespectful to do. Um,
Why is it disrespectful? Why do you think it's disrespectful to call you something that the industry and that the
because I don't
world calls
because
you?
I'm there's people that have been doing this for a long period of time,
Oh, okay.
and me personally, I'm not sure if I even have the ability. I just know I have
Well, if you
certain,
have something, you have something, whether the other people like
of
it or
course,
not. If you have a gift or a talent or a skill or some kind of energy about you, then you should, like you're doing what you're supposed to, is work at it and do it right. You're doing what you're supposed to do, whether they like it or not.
yep.
That's why
I
I got out of doing tarot. I have an extremely good gift about doing tarot, being a
Nice.
cardomancer, reading of the cards, understanding. However, I got out of it in my local area here because, and online, because people are just foolish and selfish and debilitating to you when you're trying to learn something.
Unfortunately,
Eh, eh,
that's the con when you talk about paranormal and even tarot cards or mediums. They're all part of the paranormal field. That's another con. This particular field, a lot of people would rather be in competition with you than
I've
be
I've seen it.
audited.
I've seen it. I've been to a few expos or conventions or shows or whatever you want to call it, and I have seen the room literally is it's awful. It's like a fire scene after the fire department puts out the fire and the neighborhood's
Yep.
like, oh, they feel sorry for the person that the fire happened to. It's like it's sad. I don't know if the word's depressing, but it's down. It's like, oh, what is wrong with you people? Everybody in this room should be promoting each other and helping each other. I mean,
Of
that's
course.
why the one we went to, they only invited one of everything. And they said, well, the paranormal groups, we have a lot. Do you mind? I said, I don't care. We can all learn from each other. And the
Yeah.
lady looked at me like she'd never heard of that in her life.
Well, that's because it's very it's a very dog eat dog kind of, And
But why,
what
when we're all fun? Nobody is ever going to come forward and get the answer if there's life after
it,
death. So what are we competing for?
it's unfortunate. You have ghost, you have Ghost Adventures,
Yeah.
and you other things from like Discovery Channel and Travel Channel.
And
So
I'm going to
basically,
put my warning in here before you start talking about this. I got to on my show.
of course,
They're entertainment. They're
yeah,
scripted. They're entertainment. And I keep using every time I've done a paranormal investigation interview, or with a paranormal or about this or anything, even our other interview. Those people have to get ratings. They have to have something for you, or they don't got a
yep.
job anymore. It's like a
That's what.
farmer. They have to bring corn to the market, or the market's going to say, "What are you bringing empty baskets for us?"
Of course, 100%. But
So,
that being said,
yeah,
uh, our paranormal groups, they don't see. I don't want to use this the wrong way. A
yeah.
lot of people
You can say whatever you
see it
want
as
to
a
on my
cash cow.
show. You can say whatever you want
All
to.
right,
I
a
don't
lot.
mind if it's the wrong way or not. We're talking about an opinion you have. We're talking about it to
Of course,
educate our listeners so they may not fall in the same loop, learn our lessons and like and help each other so they don't have to fall into this, category of the people that are out there.
so unfortunately, there is a large majority of groups that rather make $1 and make a they rather make a lot of money and not and cutthroat. They all think they're gonna be the next Ghost Hunter, the next Ghost Adventures. They want to make it big, so if they can cut your throat on this in this industry, they will. And there's certain I can't say their names because I know some of them, but there's certain companies that are buying out um, haunted locations for cash cows, and it's it's very
I think it's funny because what's going to happen when somebody proves there's nothing there?
well, true. But the thing is, the, it's unfortunate because these things, I get there's maintenance
There's
fees,
no
there's bill
longer historic anymore. It's all about if there's a
money.
ghost in this place.
Yeah.
And as a paranormal investigator, let me have your opinion on this.
Yep.
What's keeping the spirit there? You go to a place right now, you and I know this. The listener may not know it, maybe they know it by now, talking, on my show, listening to my show, and my opinion on things. There may not be anything in that building. What's
Well,
keeping the spirits in that place to remain haunted? I've asked this question to 1,000 people, and each one probably has said the same thing you're going to say. I don't know.
well,
What's keeping a spirit there to say it's haunted?
so I don't know if anything is keeping a spirit in a location. What I do know is
Well, they're
if
making money on these things, throwing people and guests and throwing stuff down the hallways and stuff going missing and shadows being all over the building. But I went to a location, oh shadows, this shut. There was none of that.
well, all right, so everything is energy.
Yeah.
Spirits are energy, and uh, so if you wanna talk, say all right, say a person passes away,
Uh huh.
uh, they're not gonna be in a grave. They're not gonna stay in a grave. They're gonna go to a location
Yeah.
where they were the most happy
Yeah.
or where they had the most interactions with.
Mm-hmm.
So if a certain location is very active, well, let's say the Conjuring House, with the in Rhode Island where I live. Um, if the location had a history and people died there, and spirits are still there, then the only thing that's keeping the spirit there is because the spirit wants to be there, because that's the last place they're happy or the last place they had the most interactions. Um, but in the same aspect, the spirits are energy, so they could hitch rides on people, and people can bring them to location to location, and they could, like with me, I went to certain locations. I brought things home with me, and it's unfortunate. It's not a bad thing that's with at my house. It's there. I know I can hear it. I see it all the time. Um, but it's energy that was transferred to location to location. So I don't believe that anything keeps a spirit in location. I believe if it's a active haunting, an intelligent haunting, then it can go wherever it wants to go. Um, but if it's a residual, it's not even a spirit. It's a energy that's playing a clip over and over and over again at the same exact time, the same day. It's just energy. It's a memory that's just going to keep on playing in the loop.
Well, what I was talking, you brought up a very good point. Energy could be anywhere, but what I'm talking about is, are they doing seances? Are they asking things to be there? Are they taking this woman that wants to do seances and telling her, "Hey, do a seance, get something here," and then it's always has the energy. Maybe it always has the negative energy, so they can make money
Yeah.
off it. How are they
Yep.
keeping spirits in a building? Because you and I both know you could go there one night, and for the rest of the year, you'll never find another thing there.
Yeah, because it'll happen when it wants to happen,
And at
and
all these locations, nobody wants you to do something to free the thing. To say, if you're
oh,
trapped, leave. Oh, we don't do those things.
well, that's
Well,
why they have to sign paperwork. So when you go to said locations, you have to sign a document stating that you'll never say you can move on.
that's to me, that's disgusting. You're not helping any.
True.
You're not
I believe that.
being fair to the spirit that's trapped. That's like taking somebody that's kidnapped and saying, "You can't leave. Sorry, but well, we will feed you. We will give you
Yeah,
better clothes, and you can go on the internet and talk to your family now." Ha ha ha. No, that's
yeah.
disgusting, and I don't even know what to say it is. It's immoral. It's
It is very
immoral as a human being
immoral.
to keep that spirit there and make. Now, if you want to say it's a haunted location, like we have a few haunted locations here, that if the spirit was to go, I bet you they would say, okay, why not? Let's be
Yeah.
sympathetic. But this is a haunted location, and people will still come there because they like to roam around in the dark. I call it roaming around in the dark
Oh
because
yeah.
that's
It,
basically what they want to do. And sometimes it's almost humorous. I can just sit there and laugh because this is not, some of the people amateur. I don't know if they're amateurs. I don't like calling them amateurs because I believe everybody should be taught this field and taught the right way to do it.
yep.
The right way, okay? But these the public, so to speak, for me and you and our listeners right now, like maybe the public is the listener, so maybe they would, be able to listen to this and learn something, so they're not, talked bad about. If you go to one of these locations, go there one for the history first, two for whatever is said to be there, whatever happened. Um, you know, a story of another castle is somebody shot themselves in the parking lot. So
Yep.
you're there because somebody shot themselves. That energy's on. Like you said, there's energy. The one that you go to has Pukwudgies and American history and American belief system. The Native Americans had a belief system that's wonderful too. That's why you go there. The third reason is to find whatever's there. But you shouldn't go to the place to do that only. And there's some people that do that. Oh, I want to find a ghost. I want to see the ghost. And the minute they see the ghost, they're the first one to run out the door. But they came
Yeah.
because that's all they wanted to see. So get Pepper's Ghost or whatever. I think it's called Pepper's Ghost, where you put it in front of something and make it float around like it's real.
Yeah.
Get one of those and have something float around for a while because that's what they paid for. And then you got me and maybe a few people that are there for the history. I want to know what it was. I want to know what happened. I want to know the history. I want to know what the hauntings are related to. Like our discussion now. I want to know these facts because that's what draws me to it.
It's funny because I've I've been doing the Smith's Castle for a couple of years now, and there has been cops who have come in and they're off duty and they're with their spouses, and they're like, oh, I'm only here because she wants to do this and she wants to do that, and they're like, oh, I don't believe in this. I'm like, well,
Okay.
just to let you know, you're the number one
You don't
target
believe
tonight.
in the ghost, but the ghosts believe in you.
Oh yeah. So I've personally seen their faces go from non-believers to something unexplained happen, and their face just goes blank, and it's pretty amazing because I have had the opportunity to see a lot of things, hear a lot of things. I've captured audio. I've caught full body apparitions. It's pretty amazing. But for the common uninitiated, for them to see it firsthand and for them to come in saying that they don't believe, and you can literally see their whole facial and body expressions change when it happens. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I've been on.
Just open their eyes.
I've been on. I had the appreciation to do tours, and I think the best part about doing a tour is when that person goes, "Oh my God," or they bragged, "Oh, I don't know, I don't believe in this stuff." Like you said, I'm here because my friend brought me. Okay, you're here because your friend brought you, so you're bored and you don't want to do anything, but come here. Okay. And all of a sudden, they don't believe, but they're the first ones to tell you when the chair moves by itself. They're the first ones to tell you, I don't know what was upstairs, but it touched me.
Yep.
Or, I don't know why we're all cold in this room, but they're the only ones that have breath being, you can see their breath. It's almost like the spirits know that if you don't believe, that's like walking into the haunted house and going, this isn't scary, really. That guy is going to make sure it's pretty scary for you now.
Oh, yeah.
We're going on a Disney ride. I don't believe that, something. Oh, well, the roller coaster did 4 loops for you, and it's never done it before. So, it's almost. And then again, those kind of people, I just like to step aside and say, oh, no, you're not coming on the tour. You don't believe? Then go away, because this is something that you're disrespecting.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a disrespect, but it's not polite to sit there and say, I don't believe, and ruin it for all the other people that do believe that want a thrill. There's 4 kinds of people that go. There's people like me that like history. There's people like that are not afraid to come with their friend. Then there's the people that want to see that ghost. I want to see the ghost. I'm here for that ghost. Yay. Okay? It's almost like I want to put a sheet over somebody and have them run around, because that's what that person's there for. Let's get them to their money's worth. And then there's the 4th person. It's just that dull, agonizing person that just either wants to debunk it or wants to, that problem person that's just why can you not stay home and find a Netflix movie tonight, buddy? Can you not? Because you're not even into this. We could show you. I could bring in a stick from outside and say to Ghost, nod on this, and it's nod all the pieces. The one would be like, oh my God, it's proof. The one, oh, I don't believe in shit. Then the other one's there for history. I'd be like, okay, cool, whatever. And then that person's like, no, the stick doesn't even exist. You made that up. But to me, that person that says I made that stick up and the one that doesn't believe, that's the one I want to walk down that hallway, and I will get chills. I will, worry myself. I will be, holy crap, I'm the biggest man in the room if something happens. There's no one here for me now, because I want that person to see something, and I want it to be the worst we can get. I want that person thrown down the stairs. I don't care about the insurance company. That person will believe by the time they leave.
Well, it's funny. It's funny you say that, because we had a guy one time, this big macho guy. He's a big bodybuilder. He was there with his wife, and we're up now.
Always the big muscular guys that think they can do anything till they see a ghost. Okay, yeah, sure.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. So it's funny.
Hell's Angels guys. Oh, I can kick anybody. I can do anything. Till you saw me dressed as a clown at the haunted attraction. The other guy, I thought he was this macho, guy at. Oh, my family's the best, da-da-da-da-da-da-da, until a chair moved by itself, and he winced like a frickin' guinea pig in a cage, and came downstairs and said that he'll stay downstairs and let his family didn't want him with him. He's ruining the tour. No, you were scared.
Yeah. So it's funny, because the night was pretty slow. We got a couple things here and there, but he was basically like, oh, this place is like a joke. I said, all right, well, why don't just me, you, and your wife go into the attic, and we'll have a little spirit box session. So he's all right, let's do it. So we go upstairs. Now, mind you, I'm only 5'10". I'm not that tall.
I'm 6'3", 319 pounds. So
there you go. So I'm 5'10", 300 pounds.
Yeah.
So I go up these stairs. Now, like I said, this
Well,
guy's a
you're all
big,
right. You're a normal size person.
yeah, but this guy was huge compared to me. He was a
So he's
big
like
buck.
me. He's like, me.
Yeah. So we go upstairs and we're doing the spirit box session, and it starts picking up because there's only three of us there, so it starts picking up more. Um, and then I'm like, "Is there anybody up here with us?" And now he is standing in front of me with his back against a long dark hallway, and I'm next to like a window with maybe like 3 feet, and his wife's to
Always a
my side.
long, dark hallway. Never the hallway
Oh
with the
yeah.
lights on, right?
So all you start hearing these big rapid footsteps running close to us. It's like literally running up behind him. His eyes lit up. He jumped up and he ran behind me. Like I'm gonna protect him against this
Oh
whatever's coming.
boy, he's what did the wife do? Did the wife all of a
So
sudden just I mean
run.
mostly the women smile and they're like, "Sure, run."
Yeah.
You're no
Oh,
use to me now, dear.
yeah. It was hilarious because he ran behind
Mr.
me and
Macho that would look at us in a bar and think he's all great is now cowering behind us like a mouse that didn't want to see a cat.
yep, and that was hilarious because it wouldn't. I mean, it was startling because like I said, it was a very soft and quiet night, and a couple things came through the spirit box, but then out of nowhere, boom, 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 boom,
I
boom.
wish some of your haunted attract video of this stuff. Like all of a
So
sudden they sign a waiver so that if somebody gets scared, we could put it on YouTube because that'd be just as funny as the guy falling off the ladder because the guy puts a ladder on his van and then leans it against the house and then falls.
Yep.
The worst safety hazards at all. These things are even funny as those things are.
Oh,
That
uh,
just watching him run behind you would have been enough for me to burst out
oh, yeah,
laughter.
it was,
That just
it
ruined
was
the tour
hilarious.
because now we're having a funny atmosphere when we're supposed to have a serious one.
Oh yeah, and so if you go on
Like
PLS,
you're gonna save him if something wants him, right?
oh yeah, it's not happening.
It's gonna go into you, and then what's he gonna do when you start freaking out? He's gonna
Oh yeah,
going through the roof like Tom and Jerry cartoons here.
Yep, it's over. But we do have footage of full body apparition, and we have the voices. So if they go on the PLS Facebook, Paranormal Legends Society, their Facebook, they can see the actual footage that we caught. I have.
No, I'm at footage of the man standing there with his eyes
no,
bugged out,
yeah,
screaming
I
and
wish.
hopping behind you.
I wish. Unfortunately,
So Mr. Big Professional Wrestler decided to hide behind a normal guy.
a lot of people. So when we give out equipment, we give out a handheld camera, video camera. We give out.
Why would you trust people with your equipment? Number one.
Well, it's not like the greatest equipment.
Okay.
It's like equipment that like we just basically give out for the investigation. Our personal equipment. I have a 4K recorder and stuff like that. Nobody touches that. But we do give out.
Because I'd be very leery of the people that, even if it's a cheap camera, people that don't know how to. I mean, people don't know how to hold silverware in a restaurant sometimes. Yeah. How are they going to hold a recorder in their hand?
Well, that's so we 9 out of 10 times when I go over the evidence of the handheld video recorder, it's of their feet. They're not pointing it like forward.
However, that might be the best evidence when you see a shadow go past and you're like, wait a minute, that was wait, whoa. Or they're recording their own face and their cheek for an hour and a half, and all of a sudden their cheek turns green and it looks like a shadowette just passed by, and it's like.
I've had people that have had their voice recorders in their back pocket and they forgot their recording, and you hear, like you start hearing like them releasing some gas, and it's like.
Or they're making comments about you guys, and now you know what they really think of you, so now you can get on them.
Yeah,
Now, do you go over the evidence from them and let them know, or do you not let them know?
Nope. Yeah. So what we do is, what they do now.
That would freak out that they were standing next to something and it answered them.
Well, that's what it was. So we there's video proof on the PLS site that there was a guy named Steven and his wife, and they had a handheld video recorder, and they're walking around. They didn't know they caught this, but when I went over the evidence. They caught a full-blown white apparition walk from one corner of the room to the other. And They didn't know they caught it until I said, "Well, hey, bud, do you have an email? I can send some footage to you." He goes, "Oh, sure." So I send him footage, and he's like, "Holy shit! Like that's
Mm-hmm.
crazy."
Because I've
But
done
we do
that. I've
have
seen something and something's done something. I'm like, I was right there, and oh, okay.
we I just well I did it was me, Dennis, and Trisha. We just recently caught an EVP that that kind of like startled me um because of how clear and like um how well put the sentence was. So basically, we're in this location and it says clear as day, "You're a demon from hell," as it's talking to us. And on the EVP it says, "You're a demon from hell." I'm like, well,
That's
interesting.
well, maybe it thinks we're demons. I mean, that to me,
Well,
intellectually,
yes.
that tells me what they think we are.
Yeah, because if you think about it, how do we know we're not haunting them?
Well, yeah. Well, I don't know, but if it's a spirit of a human being, a ghost, I don't think we're haunting them. I think they're just there for whatever's there on that side, whatever it is.
Yep.
I don't know. All these years, 21 years, I still haven't figured it out. Still haven't thought about it. Still haven't.
I don't think we'll ever know.
However, what happens if it's another being and it doesn't know what you are?
True. A different
Because the
astral plane.
best piece of evidence I ever caught, well, not the best piece of evidence I ever caught, but one of the best. I don't have a best. I really don't. We asked a question, it answered in another language, and we don't know the language. The thing behind this is that this was an African art exhibit at a museum. Or let's say a museum collection, not necessarily at a museum, okay? But it was like it was at a museum. So, you have the person's personal collection, okay? I call it a museum in someone's house. It's not an actual museum, it's a collection. So, do you know anything about the Nobo or Nubo or how they say those people's names in Africa?
No.
Okay, they believe they came from another star system. And I asked, and these statues that I'm looking at in this collection, personal collection, I
Yep.
can't talk about anything more than that. It's personal collection. Are of these things, and they are kind of weird. And I said, if you live in that thing, because they believe they live in these things, or they come down and use these things to talk to them and everything else, can you let us know you're there? Now there was a sound from something. Well, that could have been anything in the room. Okay, I don't. I was very skeptic of the sound, but then we got words, and like you said, later, that's pretty weird. That's pretty
Yeah.
oh my kind of deal. And the words were not English, and they weren't another language that I know of. So what was in that thing? I still to this day can't figure it out. I also took a picture. I don't know if it's up on my website. I don't know if it's in my collection on Facebook. I think it is. By the way, www.iambrotherwade.com is my website. Uh, I haven't promoted that all this show, so that's pretty good that I've gone for a show without plugging stuff. But I should have done a little bit more. But we're almost out of time here. But anyways, I have a picture of me saying, if you're in that, can you come out to show us what you look like? And it's a picture of something coming out. So it's. I wish somewhere there was a national database where people can go into stuff and look at them and learn from it. But I've said it many times, and I don't know how to do that.
Yep.
I wish there was some kind of place where I could say, this is my phone, yours, and we can compare it, because that's what something I miss about conventions is you find a group you're not, that you're nice with and you're friends with. Maybe they're out of your area. You don't have any competition anyways, since we were talking about the competition. So there's no competition, but then you share evidence and you talk about stuff and you learn
Yep.
stuff from each other. That's the stuff I miss. I don't know if you've ever been to a convention or not, as a
Yes,
group. As a group.
yep. Well, not as a group. I've gone
No.
individually. Um, actually, a good friend of mine. He's him and a business partner of his. He's putting on a Paracon in Sleepy Hollow, New York, and that'd be nice to go visit that. So, um, unfortunately, like there isn't a big database, and with the internet, a lot of things are doctored, and a lot of things are just made up for likes, views, and clout. So, legit wise, um, there is a lot
Well,
of
there's a
legit,
lot of legit stuff out there that's not.
of course, but
I
for a
hate
major
harping on.
database,
I don't even like mentioning the fact, but you did mention a good point that people like to circle a lot of things that aren't really. And I'll give you a quick example here. You want an example of something that's totally hilarious? Sit down and get ready to laugh at this. I took a picture of a garbage hopper fooling around with my camera when I first got a digital camera. Everybody said it was good, so I was fooling around with it in the rain, taking pictures of it. It's supposed to be waterproof. It is, or something. So I got all these dots. You know how water makes dots?
droplets, yep.
So I posted it online. And my God, everybody thought it was the best picture of orbs they ever saw. One person even offered me money. And I'm thinking, if I was really an immoral person and a total jackass about it, I would have said sure and done it.
Yep.
I said, no, it's water droplets in the air. And we used it for study of water droplets and orbs. I think somewhere here in a collection somewhere, I have a huge database of bugs and orbs and droplets and stuff for orbs because I hate the word orb.
Mm-hmm.
I am one that if you say there's an orb in a photo, I'll hand it back to you and say, have fun.
Yep.
Great Miller, buddy. Great fairy in the tree. No, that's not a fairy. That's a huge wasp.
Yep.
Somebody once took a picture of a cardinal flying by and said that it was a giant meteor. And I'm thinking to myself, you gotta be kidding me. But there's people that will run right up there and want to see the picture of the meteor. So I guess, like you said, people are, it's sad, but they want to see the entertainment value that we do and not the science value.
Yeah, but people also misconstrued a lot of things they can see. You know what pareidolia is, right?
Yeah, to a certain degree, but there's some things out there that I know darn well there is real.
No, of course. So all right. For the listeners, pareidolia is basically the Jesus in the toast, or if you look in the clouds, you can see.
But there was a real Jesus in the toast.
Well, not every picture is like that though. It's like.
Well, I don't think Jesus appeared in their toast, thank you very much. He's a lot more than that. Why would he do that?
Of course. But you have these pictures of a city in the sky, or you have like pictures of like, it looks like a dog, or like you see like the on a wall, the way the wallpaper sits just right, it looks like a face. That's pareidolia.
Or the demon in the shower that was going to rape the girl because it's a big face in her ceiling, And it's made of it's called water rust from your ceiling, lady. Get your ceiling fixed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of the pictures that you see online, some can be real, but a lot of the things they are pareidolia. And on my podcast, we actually had a whole hour session of talking about pareidolia in the paranormal.
So how would I get your podcast?
Well, so our podcast hasn't been released yet. We filmed 3 or 4 episodes. Then I ended up getting COVID last month.
And what happened with that for our listeners? I like to have a record of what this thing is doing.
Well, so
nothing serious, I hope. Nothing serious, I hope.
So I had it when it first came to the U.S. Back in May or April of last year, and I was hospitalized. I ended up having. I couldn't breathe.
Good.
No, it wasn't. I had double pneumonia 3 times.
Oh boy.
Um, it was interesting. Um, but I developed a thing called POT syndrome. Um, it basically my heart goes tachycardia for no reason. Um, normally I'm a very healthy person,
Uh-huh.
and that it affected my heart a little bit,
Uh-huh.
and my breathing, my normal breathing. But this last time, last month, all I had was double ear infection. I didn't even know I even had it until my oldest tested positive, and then I had a test. And but
Yeah.
uh, but starting next week, we're going to be releasing our first episode. It's called "The Gates Are Open" podcast,
Okay.
and it's going to be on Facebook. We already have a Facebook group, so you guys can go there. But it's going to be on Spotify. It's going to be on YouTube. It's going to be on every platform, and hopefully we're shooting for Wednesday of next week.
Now, what's it
So
called on Facebook so we can go up there right now and do it?
it's called "The Gates Are Open" podcast. And a funny story behind the name. Um, I was with Dennis, and we went to the Warwick Poor Farm, and it's a place where there's a bunch of unmarked graves, and we're asking questions on the portal, and obviously we're in a graveyard, so a bunch of names are just coming across, and then it goes silent, and all it says is, "The gates are open. He is coming."
The gates are open. He is coming.
Yes, all it said. That whole phrase. I looked at Dennis. I said, "This session's over," and I ended the session because I had a lot of questions.
Well, you're gonna
What
have to
gates are
send me
open?
a link because I gotta keep you up there as well as
Yeah, that's fine. I'll send a link, and then I can actually put a link onto the live after it airs, just so people can have it. But
because of the way we did the podcast today. We had to switch over, and I don't want to lose anything.
so if I could give you a thing, you ever heard of StreamYard?
I've never heard of that. What is it?
So it's on the internet. It's a browser recorder.
Uh
So
huh.
basically, it's like a Facebook Live thing,
Yeah.
but you do it there, and you can broadcast it to all different
Well, send me a
platforms.
links on all this. Maybe we will network as a podcast. I'll even be a guest on your podcast.
Of course, I would love that.
Um, I would love my friend to also be a guest, maybe on your podcast.
Of
We're
course, we
we're in
are.
the
We
works for a Bigfoot investigation group, but
Whenever you do that,
COVID
let me
kind of
know.
ruined. For everybody that's listening, COVID kind of ruined a heck of a lot of stuff in this industry, and
Yes,
it's never rebuilt itself to the
a
level
lot
it
of places
was.
closed down.
However, in a way, I hate to say this, but it has brought a lot of people together again where we can, say, hey, a lot of things are not,
Right.
uh, people are, you know, in a way, people are more respectful now. Before, oh, the ghost, and now it's, oh, well, I'm in a cemetery, and I'm going to be really respectful. Where before,
Yep.
I've seen a lot of people not be with paranormal investigations.
Oh yeah,
Um,
it's
It
tough.
got so I stopped watching somebody in a graveyard because it's like you're walking in a straight line. Are you stepping on any tombstones? Are you walking over them? Are you jumping over them? Are you respecting the fact that a loved one has, putting all your recorders all over somebody's tombstone to see if you can get a voice out of somebody that's not even haunting the place?
Yep.
And I apologize to my listeners if you're listening to me to rant about this, but when you're in a cemetery, it's somebody else's family member that's laying there in the ground. Oh, I want to. Oh, look at this. The video showed the guy walking up to a tombstone and naming the person out loud and everything. And is there
Right.
here? Are you here? Are you here? And of course, they get a
Yeah.
voice from something. Oh, we hear you here. Now, can you tell us why you died? Can you tell? Listen, that's
Yeah.
somebody's relative.
Yeah. Of
Well,
course.
how would you like it if they went up to auntie or your mommy or your grandma or grandpa and decided to do that to them? I don't know. I might think it's okay if they did it respectfully. I don't want to know if you got anything from my mom or grandpa. I'm kind of, when it comes to my own relatives, I'm kind of, that's kind of weird.
Yep.
But if you're going to go up there and make fun of it, and I don't, I think it's wrong. But
Yeah, you're not
it
okay with
kind of
that.
changed that because that person in the ground might have died of COVID and they might have had a horrible, horrible way of going. And in a way, it's kind of almost, to me, I kind of stay on the main, walk over to maybe one of those ancient tombs or something. But
Yep.
I don't want to be disrespectful at all, in any way. I
Definitely
never
not.
wanted to be. But now it's more like, now, there's too many flowers in that section. There's too many things. We'll go somewhere else.
Yep.
Go to the 1950s cemetery down the road. It's, we know there's stuff there. We've done it 100 times, but out of respect, I don't. We're gonna go look at the abandoned barn today.
Yep.
Sit in your car and watch the abandoned barn because it's, I don't know. I think it changed a lot. I think it changed our industry and the fact that we're more cautious with what we do. Inviting anybody and everybody in the public to tours and doing anything. And now it's like, I don't think even before we were all grouped together like this, shoulder to shoulder, staring at something, speaking, and who cared what anybody's bad breath was. Well,
Yep.
now you're gonna and COVID opened me to that too. You're standing in line at Walmart and some guy sitting there coughing away in line, never covering his mouth. Before I would have been nothing. Now it's like, oh my God, he's gonna make me sick. Well, could he have made me sick before too?
Yep. But now you're more aware of it.
Now, did you have any of the bad symptoms? Did you have any of the loss of taste?
Yeah,
Or
I lost my I lost smell. I didn't lose taste.
now, is that like a total loss of smell? So if you walked in a barn full of cows, you would not smell anything?
Yeah, no. I walked into my bathroom and I went to the bathroom. And after my bathroom, I always spray lavender Lysol in the air. I couldn't smell it, so I was like, "Oh well, that's not good." I couldn't smell the lavender, all the aerosol.
Now, if you opened your mouth and stuck your tongue out, would you smell it?
I could taste it.
Okay.
My taste never left.
Because if it goes in your mouth, your nose can still pick it up. If your nose doesn't, there's a problem.
Yeah. My wife lost smell and taste.
Oh my God.
But
that's why I think it's something else. I think it's radiation poisoning, but that's my personal opinion.
Yep. Well, it all depends on where the virus sits in the back of your, because the virus sits in the back of your brainstem. That's why.
Now, why would a virus sit in your brainstem? There's no way in the history of viruses it's ever sat in a brainstem.
Yeah.
Think about that for a moment.
Of course.
Let's pause. Think about this, folks. Think about this, listeners. The back of your brainstem. The back of your neck. Okay, now think virus. They go into your stomach. They want to go into a digestive area so they can reproduce. Why is the neck? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's weird. Something's weird. Something's not right.
Yeah, I have what you call long COVID.
What's that mean?
It's actually a diagnosis. I have phantom symptoms.
Well, what I understand minimal. Let's tell our listeners what this stuff is because I understand very minimal of what you're talking about here.
So it's actually an actual diagnosis. It's called long COVID. You can develop a chronic cough. You can develop. So I have I lost. How do I put this? So I can smell certain things, but majority of things I smell are rotten meat and metal.
So what do you mean by smelling metal? That's not right. That's an iron.
I smell copper. I smell pennies.
How do you smell penny? I've never smelled one in my life. They don't have a smell to them, do they?
Well, so you've never grabbed a handful of pennies or your change, and afterwards you would smell it and it'll have like a metal or a coppery smell.
No, I've never done that in my life. I've never heard of it.
Well, so grab a penny.
Should I try that?
Grab a penny, rub it between your fingers a couple times.
Okay.
And smell it.
Let me do this. Here, let me get some change out of my pocket.
All right.
Rub it, the pennies and dime. Nope, I don't smell anything but the inside of my pocket, which smells like a weird jean smell.
Well, so yeah, so it
That's
smells like
disgusting. I just took pennies out of my pocket and sniffed them for some guy on my show, folks. My
oh
God.
no. See? Influence.
Anyways, think about being crazy. Just do what the guy tells me and I did it. I don't know.
So,
My fingers don't even smell like anything
but
either. I smell
so yeah,
magic marker for some reason. I don't have a magic marker anywhere near my pants.
it just opened a whole new sensory. But yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's
smell.
a little weird and I'm not doing it again. Go ahead.
Don't do it again. I smell copper. I taste. I can taste copper sometimes. Um, but I also have like out of the blue, my heart goes to 165, which is tachycardia.
I don't know
Um,
what is that.
Tachycardia is when your heart races uh,
Oh Jesus.
up to a certain beats per minute, and it stays there. Um,
Now
so
none of these things happened to you before and it just happens
no,
that
I
it
was
showed
actually I
up
was
now
actually
because you're not feeling the greatest.
yeah. So I was an avid hiker, um, and now I get winded very easily. Uh, yeah, it's stuff like that. So
See, I don't know if I caught COVID because they can't really say I did. But that symptom
only
is the
way to
one that
get
I've
tested.
noticed. I get winded earlier
Yeah,
than I do normally.
I get migraines, which I used to get them before, but these are different migraines. They're
I don't
like
think they're migraines. I've heard that before. I think you're I think it affected our brains and not our
oh, of course.
lungs because I think people are going crazy. I think there's people that the stuff I see um, in public and stuff. I think people something mentally it's done to us because why would it be at the bottom of our brainstem?
Yeah,
And if you think about it, that other pineal gland in there, the one that's supposed to give you dopamine,
yep.
um, that is there, right there by your brainstem.
Yep.
So, I mean, do you dream? Do you have any of these other symptoms that organ would be affected by?
No, everything else is normal. Well, can't say normal because I do ghost hunting for a living.
No,
But
but I meant on a normal daily basis.
yeah, no, everything else is normal compared to what before COVID. Um, I don't have vivid or imaginative dreaming. Um,
Because if you're, I forgot the organ's name. That's that gland right there in your middle of your brain there.
yep.
Um, if what you're telling me is true about your brainstem, that's right near that.
Well, that's what I was told. I was told depending on where the virus sits is because there's been people that have never lost smell or taste. They were asymptomatic.
I never did either. I think many people are asthmatic, and you know, that tells me that there's nothing wrong. But now you're telling me there is stuff wrong.
Like I said, my aunt, my aunt, she passed away from COVID. Well, it wasn't COVID. It was the bronchitis and pneumonia that was brought on from COVID.
Yeah, that's another thing. It's like AIDS. You don't die from it; you die of complications.
Complication afterwards. Yeah, so that's how she passed away. But they labeled it as a COVID death. But I actually have to go put my youngest to bed.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna wind down. We've been here for 2 hours. I thank you for coming on at Spirit of the Moment. I kind of apologize to you, but thank you for subbing in today. Go ahead and put your plug your show up there one more time so everybody knows where to go and to get you guys some. I would like my listeners to also listen to your show. Maybe we can help another podcaster out there.
Of course, I appreciate it. Well, my name is Adam Sanders. You can find me on Facebook. Also, you can find me on TikTok as the Paranormal Gemini 401. I post.
And send me all these links for me.
Will do. I post funny. I also post paranormal videos. But you can also follow me on Facebook on Adam Sanders. And also You can look up Paranormal Legend Society.
Yeah.
They're a great group of guys and
Uh-huh.
girls. But that's pretty much it. And also, the Gates Are Open podcast.
Yeah.
Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and soon to be on every other platform.
And when you say every other platform, you gotta kind of get me some of that stuff because I don't know about any of that stuff.
Yeah, I could show you. So,
I'm old fashioned. I'm an old fashioned pirate radio guy that
the
did
funny thing
everything I
is,
would do in pirate radio, and I made it into a
yep.
podcast.
So the funny thing is, if you download, there's one software I can tell you what it is. You download it, and it can instantly upload your podcast to every platform that's out.
Yeah, but how
And
much is that? One of those things was $150 a month. I looked into.
well, the one I use is it's $200 a year,
Oh my God.
which is
Oh, a year?
a year, not a month, a year.
What's that equal? About $10 a month, $12, $20
Yeah,
a month?
and it varies. And then once you we have Patreon members
Uh-huh.
and other members. They send you money,
Mhm.
and that basically covers everything. But I can talk to you in private with that stuff. But I
Yeah,
appreciate you
I
having
don't
me
do
on.
Patreon. I don't. I've heard too many war stories, and I don't have any
Of course.
followers on it. I don't. You know, I don't know. I've heard some stories, but
But yeah, anytime you want to come on, or
yeah.
when we got next week, we'll have our episodes. You can come on our show.
Yeah, that's got to work around my regular work schedule. Mondays is
Of course.
the day
Yep.
for this. What I often suggested, and anybody listening can do this, I figured, why don't we have, I don't mind if anybody podcasts, why don't we just have different days we do it, and then everybody can listen to each other. It'd be like a huge
Yeah, of course.
radio
That's why,
conglomerate here.
yeah, that's why I did before I even launched what day we're gonna do it. I went on all the platforms and I looked at what days certain paranormal groups drop theirs, so I don't have to compete with them. I'll have my own day, my own time,
Mhm.
for them to come listen to me.
And a lot of my stuff is, and I use WWE's old Superstars of Wrestling for this example, is I'd rather have 1,000 people come to my archives, 10,000 people come to my archives. I want the live listeners, but I want people to see my archives too. I want them on my YouTube. I want them on my website archives. So if I don't get the hundreds of people here on my live show actually is for my Facebook audience, the YouNow audience, to see me do the show. The real listening and the real where the numbers come in is my YouTube and my website. So,
Yes.
but I've used YouTube for a while now for my podcast. I would like to adventure out to the other ones. I'd like to see how that would do. I tried it once and it was not productive.
Yep.
I saw no numbers there actually, like 5 people. I see a lot of people on YouTube, so I stayed with it. That's one of the reasons I stayed with it. I didn't see the numbers anywhere else. But if you have different techniques and we can network and we can both succeed.
Yeah, why not?
And mine's a variety show, so I'm not really a competition to you.
Yeah, I don't call it a competition.
Well, a
especially,
lot
like,
of people do. A lot, like you
They
said,
do,
the same thing
unfortunately.
in the podcast community. Oh, somebody could have a podcast about muscle cars, and I'm a variety show, and you're a paranormal show, and they
Yep.
see us as competition. How? The audience is going to listen to muscle cars. It's a different audience from the paranormal. I have an
Yep.
all-around audience because I do a variety of stuff. But I'm more of an interview. I do shows about topics and everything, and they will be coming up. But I'm kind of a variety show. All three of
So
us, the muscle car show, your show, and my show, could be listened to by the same people.
Of course, and I do podcasts not for the money. I do it for the
Because your
knowledge.
heart's into it. Because your heart's into
Well,
it.
that I love it, but I also want other people to know the truth, and I want them to know the history, and I can. If you're a non-believer, watch my shows, watch our shows, and I will make you a believer. And
Yeah.
even if you don't believe, even after then you don't believe, at least I tried my hardest to show you what I have.
Well, I see it like this. I like to have the paranormal when I had my podcast. We did it for the person that gained some education about it, to learn, to get them something, whether they believed or not. We had thousands of non-believers that just wanted to watch us. That's a whole nother story. But for the ones that liked it and wanted it and really enjoyed watching it for the topic matter, we educated them in something that they may not learn anywhere else.
Of course.
And that's what I do here. That's my incentive here, is to educate somebody about somebody else's life or topics that are, we're coming up to show. We're booked into July, which is wonderful. And I think what I'm going to do, I think the lesson is learned, folks, my listeners out there. We're going to double book or try to have somebody on standby for us, because we were lucky today. We went on a Twitch rant with the last person that didn't show up. And I have a question for all those that didn't show up. How do you make any money if you don't show up to your jobs and show up to where you're booked? I don't get it. But anyways, hopefully, there was not a problem like a medical problem or something where this person could not show up. I hope and I pray that did not happen. But if they just didn't show up, that's bad. So thanks for coming on, folks. And my website is www.iambrotherwade.com. My email, cwlawrence01@gmail.com. And as always, folks, thanks for tuning in.